Brian Burns still doesn't have a contract. Or he has a contract, but not a new one, not an extension, not what he wants, not what he deserves, not what he needs. Carolina Panthers dragged their feet, and I'm fully pivoting on this one. I don't think you can get a deal done until next offseason now, or this upcoming offseason now. I think the season makes it more complicated. There are a lot of players and teams out there that do not negotiate contracts during the season as like a rule, and there's a reason for it, right? If we don't get it done, Mike Evans had the deadline, right? If we don't get it done by the Saturday before game one, sorry, no more negotiations.
Steelers are the same way.
Steelers are the same way. I think the Panthers and Brian Burns might behoove themselves to be the same way. First of all, let me get this out of the way. Here's the disclaimer. I feel like a lot of the conversations we're going to have over the next 3 hours have disclaimers. Here's a disclaimer. He deserves to get paid. They should have paid him. He deserves a raise, but that's beside the point. Right? That's past the point. I've never seen a guy start holding out after playing. I've never seen someone play like week 1 through week 3 and then decide I'm going to stop playing to get a new contract. So we're past the point of he should get paid. We're past the point of he's going to hold out and not play. I think we're now past the point of no return as far as just play this season and we'll talk next offseason. Because here's the problem. When he played well, I, like just about everybody else, right? When he came out of the gates in week 1 with a sack and a half in the first, 8 minutes of the season, whatever it ended up being, everyone on all of the social medias, my brain immediately jumped here. They said, look at this. Brian Burns playing for the money. He's saying pay me. The team's going to have to pay him now. Look at this. He has a sack and a half in the first quarter. Goodness gracious, they're going to have to pay him. You couldn't help but jump to that part. But guess what? The more I thought about it, right, and the more I've stewed on it over the last 3 days, the more I've gotten to the point where the better he played in week 1, the less likely he was to get a deal by week 2 because the team is going, well, we're not about to buy high. Right? We're not going to negotiate with you the moment after you have a great game. Right now, Brian Burns is on pace for 25 and a half sacks this season. I'm not going to say 0, but it's slim to none, the chances that he's going to finish the season with 25 and a half sacks. And the team knows that, so at some point he's not going to play like he did week 1. He might have a hot month to start, but he's going to have a cold month or a cold 3 weeks, or he's going to have a game where he gets held out with an injury. Like something is going to happen where he's not on that pace anymore. And that's when the team is going to approach Brian Burns' agent and say, hey, listen, he's in the middle of a rough spot, but that's fine. We don't mind. We still want to make a very lucrative offer, and they're going to make an offer, and it's not going to be a top-of-the-market offer because they're negotiating with a little bit of buy low in their minds. And then guess who's going to say no then? Brian Burns. His agent is going to go, wait, you weren't willing to hear our offer when he was having a hot month. We're not going to sit here and get pushed around when he's having a cold month when we are all aware that small sample sizes aren't to be trusted. It might be the easiest and, more importantly, most fair result from this point on to see how the full season plays out. All right, let's see. You have a hot month, you have a cold month, you have a hot month, you have a cold month. You end with 19 sacks. All right, now name your price. And the team really has nothing to stand on because they're like, well, you know, if you have 19, you're probably close to leading the league in sacks. We're probably going to have to give you close to leading the league in sacks money. On the flip side, you have a hot month, you have a cold month, you have a hot month, you have a cold month, you finish with 10 sacks. For the first time in your career, less than the year before from 12 and a half a season ago, well, guess what? The agent is going to have a serious conversation with his client and say, you're not going to get Bosa money. The other thing that holding out would prevent is that conversation I just referenced. Conversations with agents, I mean, luckily there is an agent there, but they're not fun, right? When Brian Burns goes in and says, I want $30 million a year, the team has to look at his agent and say, you're not a Bosa, you're not a Watt, you're not a Garrett. And that's just mean. I'm not saying it's untrue, but it's not something Brian Burns would feel good to hear.
But it's still true, though.
Still true, but you don't want to be reminded of it, right? Yeah, I got it, but every week I don't want to walk in here just for you to tell me I'm not a Bosa. Just to tell me I'm not Myles Garrett. And the same is true the other way, right? The team doesn't want Brian Burns walking in every week saying, you have to pay me now. Why? Well, because the rest of our team stinks, and can you imagine how bad they would be if I wasn't attracting all of this attention and you didn't give me the help I needed in another pass rusher, and our secondary is banged up because you didn't have the depth, which means they're not making quarterbacks hold the ball at all, and that's why I don't have as many sacks as a Bosa or a Garrett or a Watt. And it's like, okay, now we're just being mean to each other. Now, once a week, Brian Burns' agent walks into or calls up the front office and just goes, you're not doing your job here. And they go, your client's not as good as he is, as you think he is here. And then, all right, do this again next week. Sounds good. That's not fun. That's not helping anybody.
How's 4 o'clock work?
4 o'clock on Tuesdays, we'll get together. You'll tell me how bad I am at my job. I'll tell you how bad your client is at his job and why you're being greedy and everything else. And then we'll both decline the offers that we bring, and we'll do it again. What do you think? Well, next week we're playing on Monday night, so how about we push it to Wednesday?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, fine.
And the thing about having an agent is that it actually protects the player from hearing those things.
Hopefully it does, but it can't insulate you completely.
Sure.
Because you're gonna call up your agent and go, hey, how'd the meeting go? The agent's gonna have to say, well, they didn't take our offer. Do you think that's where the conversation ends, or do you go, why? What'd they say? Well, they don't think you're worth that much, right? That's all they can say, right? Or well, they want to see how the season plays out. That's why I think the easiest thing to do right now is next time you go in for your little insult meeting, just go, hey, listen, he just had a great game, which makes you cautious to negotiate right now. He's not going to have a great game every game, but after the ones where he's not great, I'm going to be cautious to negotiate right there. Why don't we go ahead and kick this to the next offseason? And the team will say, listen, cool, we will. That's fantastic. But we want you to know this. We have a franchise tag, and we're going to use it. So don't think you're going to hit unrestricted free agency next offseason, right? You're going to be a Panther this year. You're going to be a Panther the next year. And if we have to use 2 tags and you're playing well, you're going to be a Panther the year after. So just understand that the negotiations isn't you're not hitting the open market. If you get that, we get this. Bada boom, bada bang. We'll talk to you this offseason. Hopefully you play well. And the team's going, hopefully not too well, but we won't say that out loud. Don't have a career year right now, because then we're definitely going to have to tag you because you'll be worth too much. But I'm now firmly on that side, which is a big flip from where I was. Up until week 1, I was team get the deal done, get the deal done, get the deal done. Now that I know he's playing without a new deal, well, he just lost that leverage completely. So don't need to get a deal done, don't need to get a deal done. Wait till next offseason. Get another season. Get more information. I talk about that a lot. Part of the reason you have to play your rookie quarterbacks is because you're going to be making a big decision likely after 3 seasons, and you want all the information you can get. You don't want 1 season to decide if you're going to pick up his 5th-year option. You want 3 seasons of play to decide if you're going to pick up his 5th-year option or decide if you're going to give him $270 million. Brian Burns, if he plays the whole year, all you have is another season of information about how good he is to help you inform your contract decisions.